Hello, everyone. It's Hailey Salvian and Sean Gentili here with you for another episode of the Athletic Hockey Show. We teased maybe giving Max Bultman a call up from the Monday show, but we actually found this analytics darling instead. We're going to bring him in. It's Dom Lucic, and he's here with us this Thursday to jump around the NHL, dive into a 16 stats column, and Connor McDavid's kind of quiet 20-game point streak. What's up, guys?
Very casual 20-point games.
Yeah, he's chilling. No one's really talking about it. We'll get to that in the second segment. But let's bring in Sean and Dom. What's up, guys?
When you said give Max a call up from the Monday show, did you mean give him a call up?
No, a call
or a call up.
He's getting
he's in
called
the
up
okay,
from
gotcha.
Monday.
Yeah, that's
that was intentional.
Both would have been true. I just wanted to clarify that. Okay. Very, very nice.
And it is my personal opinion that Max was demoted to Monday.
Totally. I was in Detroit a couple days ago. He was too busy to see me because he had to go see, I think, Sergei Fedorov's jersey retirement game.
So
whatever, man.
I don't know.
Dominic.
I think we found a little prize in this Dom. Let's see how he does.
Is Monday the minors? Is that what's happening?
I think so.
I'm not even on a podcast. I'm in the ECHL, I guess.
That's Prodman. Come on, it's Prodman and Wheeler in Max.
Yeah,
that's the ECHL.
Yeah. They're the prospects. They're in the WHL or whatever. Dom's the spunky kid playing beer league that we were like, someone's got to look at this kid.
Now, if you've seen my last beer league games, they are bad.
Boy.
Yeah, nobody needs to. Whatever's happening at 10 p.m. at the Ford Performance Center is not my business. Yeah,
should bleep out where his games are. My God,
yeah, people are going to be coming in at 10 p.m.
There's several rinks. That was just a joke. I don't know. Don't go there. The doors are locked. It's fine. Okay, so I shared this off mic with producer Jeff, and Dom, maybe you'll appreciate this too very quickly before we get into Wednesday night's games. So Bono, my dog, is in a cone, and the vet said he needs a collar to keep the cone on. So I went to the dollar store because Bono's a French bulldog. Collars are bad for their throats. The only collars available were Toronto Maple Leafs ones. So Bono's been ripping around the city of Toronto in Maple Leafs gear, and it's kind of embarrassing.
Did he wear it in shame after Tuesday night's game?
Yeah, he's in a cone of shame with a shameful Leafs collar on while they're out of playoff position. It's
an immense pride
horrendous.
After Monday, humongous shame after Tuesday. The way it goes in Toronto.
Yeah,
he's actually
Bono's
he's actually the third line center right now. You know
hey, Nick Waugh has been pretty good.
Oh my God. I guess that's true. Yeah. He's a valuable depth middle sixer, or a valuable middle sixer. How about that?
They're going to give him a shot beside Austin Matthews. See how it works. All right. So that was my little dog update. It's been, I don't know. I don't like walking around in team gear unless it's like the Blue Jays or something. So it's been kind of funny to have the dog in his little Leafs themed cone. All right, 4 games in the NHL on Wednesday night, guys. Let's start with Ottawa and New York very quickly here. The Senators win 8-5, but midway through the second period, Ottawa's up 5-1, and Fire Drury chants begin at the Garden. What do you guys make of that? Is it surprising at this point with the New York Rangers? I know we had Peter Baugh on last week, so we went pretty deep into trade scenarios, the injuries, but 1 week from then, 7 days later, things are getting pretty spicy at the Garden.
I think the fact that they lost isn't surprising. That's just how things are trending for them. We shouldn't be surprised that this team loses any game on any given night, especially one without Igor Shesterkin in net. I think that's a big part of what's become clear over the last little bit. God bless Jonathan Quick. I love him. He's one of the few remaining NHL players who is older than I am. I got all the time in the world for that. But I think what the Rangers are seeing is what happens when you don't have Igor Shesterkin bailing them out on a night-to-night basis. Quick, since Shesterkin's been out, his save percentage is in the 700s. It hasn't been good. So we know that this can happen on any given night, so it shouldn't be that much of a surprise. The other side of the coin, though, is that it happened against the Ottawa Senators at one of the most chaotic stretches that an NHL team has had, I think, of over the last few years, given the statement that they had to release about Linus Ullmark's personal leave and all that stuff. This is a team that's in disarray, right? Off the ice to some extent. Then you throw in the fact that Levi Merilainen is the replacement for Ullmark, and he's been putrid. So you have a goalie who's playing terribly on a team that's in the middle of some kind of distress. Come in and do that. I think that's the surprising part. Not that they lost. It's that they lost the way that they did to Ottawa. And if ever there was a result that deserved to get booed and deserved to lead to fire the GM chants, I think that was it last night.
Yeah, respect to Ottawa's scorers who needed to put up 8 to beat the Rangers.
Yeah.
That's how bad Merilainen has been. I've seen some online discourse unhappy with Brady Tkachuk, and I think he had a 4-point night, so good for him again. Sean talked about Shesterkin being out. They also are missing not USA Olympian Adam Fox, and that blue line is absolutely horrific without him. It's not great with him, but he at least carries it. He's that good. I don't know who's supposed to create offense from this blue line. The first month of William Borgen's 25-26 season was great, but he is back to being William Borgen, unfortunately. So it's two teams going in the opposite direction. I think the Sens are going to start trending back up again, but they need some goaltending, and allowing 4 goals in a win is still not ideal.
I loved what Vince Mercogliano wrote after the game too. He's in his first season with us as one of the Rangers beat writers, and he's been fantastic. I think the way he laid it out there after that result last night was pretty impressive. Tons of good bits from what he wrote and what he's written over the last couple days. I knew they drafted poorly. I knew they drafted poorly going back to Jeff Gorton, really, but he really kind of lays it plain in something Vince does and something he wrote a couple days ago. The only jury draft pick who's carved out a regular role is rookie center Noah Laba. So that's an example of the issues that they've faced. Going back to the Capo Caco pick and the Lafreniere pick. I mean, once you miss on high end draft picks like that, and further down the in the order, and you can't fill out a lineup adequately, right? So if you have a broken pipeline coming to the league, and then your best players age out and or fail to perform, I think to some extent, this is predictable, but to see it again on home ice where they've just been absolutely awful all season long against that particular team, man. This feels like the trench. This feels like the bottom of something. And another thing Vince said coming out of that game last night is that he wouldn't rule out something drastic today. He doesn't know what it is because, it's tough for them to make a move, and they can safely assume that they've backed off trying to pry Kiefer Sherwood away from the Canucks. So Vince isn't getting into specifics, but it's the kind of result that leads to action in one way or another. And he kind of said to watch out for that. So that's something to keep your eye on Thursday and Friday.
I just think the timing is interesting too, because Rangers Knicks owner James Dolan gave a pretty glowing review and backed Chris Drury a week ago, 10 days ago, saying you have to be patient. Chris Drury is a winner and a competitor. He can't stand to lose. So he seems like the owner's backing his guy, but 10 days later, they're close to the bottom. He's getting booed. They're calling for him to get fired. The Sens are putting 8 on you. So we'll see how quickly things can change in 7 to 10 days. The New Jersey Devils win their second straight game. Dom, are we seeing them get out of free fall a little bit? It's a 3-2 overtime win against the Kraken, by the way. They're third in the Pacific, sitting in a playoff spot. The Seattle Kraken are, but the Devils win. Did you have a thought on New Jersey?
It sort of feels like Jack Hughes is finding his rhythm the last couple of games. I think that is the biggest thing. They were absolutely abhorrent offensively when he was out, and he still had his hand in some bandaging. We found out from some TMZ style photos with him and Tate McRae that
iconic, obsessed.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
old.
it
That's
so
old
much.
news, man. Those photos are taken weeks ago.
No, like the fact that he was back. There's new photos with Tate McRae, and his hand is still wrapped up, and he's playing. So obviously not 100%. He's looked closer to that the last.
Wait, there's
couple of games.
new photos of Jack and Tate McRae? Wait a second, I was unaware of this.
Okay, I think you're pretty aware.
There's
you're
a picture
up on
of
Tate
her
McRae news.
kidding.
in
I
a winter coat.
Yeah,
and she posted on Instagram saying like it was cold out, and everyone's like, "She's in Minnesota for the Hughes Bowl." It's so important to me. That's going to be our third segment from now on, is the Tate McRae corner.
Yeah,
I'll wear the t-shirt I got from her concert.
Sean loves that. I think the more important development is that Dougie Hamilton was amazing the last 2 games after being healthy scratch. Maybe that's all they needed, just healthy scratch. Arguably still their best defenseman, and get him back to being a $9 million guy. I still think he has a lot of juice, even if he's not fully a $9 million guy. He looked like last 2 nights. I don't think he is right now, but he still has some game left. And I think the fact that healthy scratched him was a little silly, to put it lightly.
What's it going to take for you to be out all the way on Dougie? I'm not saying you should be, because I do agree with you, and so does Tom Fitzgerald. By the way, he told the reporters yesterday. He made a point to say, that Dougie's been good since he was scratched. So I'm not here to throw dirt on Dougie. What would it take for you to be completely out on him, though? Because I love hearing you defend this guy, and I've loved it for 5 years or 8 years or 12 years or however long it's been.
Dougie's my ride or die. I'll always defend him.
Congratulations.
If the results are like truly bad, then I will pivot, and I definitely don't think he is as good as he was 2 or 3 years ago, and even his entire tenure with the Devils, I think, has been a lot more up and down than when he was next to Jacob Slavin. So obviously there was something there. But this year he is, for some reason, their matchup defenseman. We all know Dougie's not known for his defense, so it's a little odd they're putting him in that role. And he has been arguably their best defenseman given that context. And I think people will see that he doesn't have a lot of points as usual. I think a lot of that is his teammates just aren't finishing at a historically low rate for him. He is not getting points on goals he's on the ice for. And I think it does look like a guy who's been a bit unlucky more than actually bad.
Wasn't that a bit, I don't know if concern's the right word, but wasn't that a conversation that a lot of people had when Luke Hughes was signing his big extension of like, now you have 2, quote unquote top pair guys, top power play guys making a ton of money, but only one of them's going to get those offensive blue line minutes. And so far it's looking like that's been Luke Hughes. He's on the top power play. Dougie's power play too, if he's in the lineup. It was 1 scratch, so I don't want to overreact, but I assume the usage between Luke Hughes and Dougie Hamilton's playing a role there.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the reasons Dougie's not been the best this year is he's usually someone who really drives 5-on-5, who gets points there as well, and doesn't really depend on power play as much as maybe some other offensive defensemen, and that just hasn't shown up as much this year. And I think that's been the story with the Devils this year, is they can't score power play 5-on-5. It doesn't matter. With Hughes out, it became a huge, massive issue, and you'd think with Hughes, with Nemec, with Hamilton manning the blue line, they'd have enough offense from there, but just hasn't manifested in that way.
All right, final game we can talk about from Wednesday night before we take a break and get into Connor McDavid. The Buffalo Sabres won their 14th of 16.
Oh my God.
Is anyone paying attention to the Buffalo Sabres right now? And it's against the Philadelphia Flyers. Meaningful game in the middle of January for these 2 teams. It's kind of fun if you're Sabres and Flyers fans, I guess, specifically.
I know who's paying attention, by the way.
Your friend Greg?
My friend Greg. From Buffalo, proud Buffalo native. He's texting me all possible permutations that have Matthias Samuelsson and Norris in the name. So it's like Manoris Samuelsson, Matthias Norrisson. Like he's running out of different combinations. I think we got Manoris Samuelsson last night, and that went over the Flyers.
Dom, are you liking the Buffalo Sabres? Like Sean's friend Greg?
I am loving this. I don't remember if it was last time I was here or 2 times ago where we were asked about which of these East teams on the bubble or outside still have a shot, and I proudly still said Sabres because it was
Incredible.
my preseason pick. Even though they looked absolutely horrible, they have vindicated me with this massive stretch. So I'm feeling great about the Sabres right now.
We got a Josh Norris injury, everybody.
Yeah.
He left.
Fork found in kitchen.
He left after getting cross-checked to the ribs. That seems like it's hopefully nothing long term, but
As long as it's not the shoulder.
yeah,
I feel
true.
bad. That's tough. With the win, the Buffalo Sabres kicked Toronto out of a playoff spot. So Sabres are sitting pretty in a wild card right now. Whomst among us?
As they deserve. They've been playing great hockey. They have been playing not great hockey for 15 years before that. We have boots on the ground with Sean's friend Greg. I think the city's coming alive, and this is a hockey town that's been starved for something like this. I really want to see the energy if the Sabres do make it.
All right. Tage Thompson, just under a point per game player this season.
If they go in the tank, you know it's going to happen immediately when the Bills are eliminated from the NFL playoffs. That's just how things work for them. They're not going to be.
It's like, we're the main ticket in town.
If and when the Bills are done, say the Bills win the Super Bowl, like whatever. Whenever it happens, you know they're losing 7 of 9. That's just the way it's going to work.
It's just cruel. It's sad. All right, let's take a break. Then we come back. We're going to compare Connor McDavid's 20-game point streak to Sidney Crosby's from 15 years ago. What an era. We'll be right back on the Athletic Hockey Show. All right, 15 years ago, Sidney Crosby put up arguably the greatest stretch of hockey in the salary cap era, scoring 25 goals and 50 points over a 25-game point streak. Connor McDavid is somewhat quietly giving Sidney Crosby a run for his money. Since December 4th, he's scored 19 goals and 46 points, the highest mark over any 20-game stretch of his career, beating his previous best of 44. Dom wrote pretty extensively about this in 16 Stats if you want to read more about this, but let's chat about it now, Dom. Just how crazy has this stretch been for the Oilers captain, and how do we kind of compare this to Sidney Crosby, who was like the best player on the planet / the best player we've ever seen during that stretch of hockey?
Yeah, that stretch of hockey from Crosby was obviously special. I remember where I was watching almost every game, and McDavid may not have the same aura of that streak because this has been a fairly quiet 20-game point streak. He's only the 4th player to do it in the salary cap era, joining Kane and Marner as well. But to have McDavid beat himself is, I think, what makes it really special. Looking at all his 20-game streaks throughout his career, his previous best being 44, and now it's at 46. Like, McDavid is doing things that even McDavid hasn't done before. I think the big thing is that this is a different era than when Crosby did it. It was lower scoring when Crosby did it. And even if you control for that, it feels like what McDavid is doing has been more impressive on paper. He has a higher XG rate. The power play in Edmonton has been absolutely nuts with him. Just the fact he's scoring more, he's generating more shots and chances on his own. He has been absolutely unbelievable his 20 games, probably the best of his career. But I think back to the aura argument where I think when Crosby was on his point streak, like Sean's from Pittsburgh, Hailey, huge Crosby fan growing up, like we were all like tuned in to this. And I think it was a huge story after every single game. And with McDavid, it just feels like it's not quite the same level in terms of the attention it's getting.
Yeah, I'm going to come across like I'm dumping on McDavid here. That is not what I want, and I don't think it's a coincidence. By the way, that
sounds
this
like
streak
he's
started.
about to dump on McDavid.
The streak started right after it was all Sean McIntyre. By the way, like brought up, he was one of the we were a couple of the people that brought up, and Frankie Corrado. He's also to blame for this. We floated that is McKinnon better right now. Not overall, but I think it was, and I think literally he played a game that night and started the point streak. So whoopsie daisy. Dom, you said he's one of 4 players in the salary cap era to do this, to have a streak like this. He's one of 12 since 1990-91. So you go even further back, and I think that makes it all the more impressive. But yeah, I kind of had the same reaction yesterday. The NHL every morning sends out this great email kind of summing up what happened the night before, with stats and context and historical bits, and then teeing up whatever's going to happen the following night. And the McDavid point streak was like buried in the middle of the email, like under the heading of, Roman Josi overtime winner against the Oilers. Also Connor McDavid, had a 20-game point streak that has extended to his 29th birthday. So, but I think that kind of sums it up, and I think the Oilers team results over that stretch have been part of the issue. They are what they are. I don't think they haven't been terrible, but I also think that just because of the way their last couple regular seasons have gone, and I think there's some degree of Oilers fatigue that's seeped in. I think that's a play to some extent, but also like. More generally, Dom, you kind of got into this. Sidney Crosby did all that while he had an HBO show. That's a huge part of it. They were on the road to the Winter Classic series back then. They had the game against the Capitals coming up on Jan 1, 2011. That was a huge part of building the aura around that streak. I mean, that truly.
Those shows were so good. Like those were like me and my parents were sat every week. Well, me and my dad. My mom was like, not a sports gal.
I was out of college by that point. I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina. My roommate at the time couldn't have cared less about NHL hockey. Just it was not something that entered his purview. And he was the dude who was sitting on the couch watching HBO every week. Like he was captivated by it. And I'll never forget, the way that show seemed to surface on a way that the sport rarely does in the United States. And that was literally during Crosby's point streak. It was during a 10-game winning streak by the Penguins. And it was in the run-up to the Winter Classic. So I think there is like important context.
The Winter Classic was still cool.
The Winter Classic was still cool. It wasn't, just go down the list. It was December. It's like, the holidays are around. Like there's any number of reasons, that streak had a little bit more juice than this one does.
And that would have been the Winter Classic that was at Heinz Field against the Caps.
Correct.
2010 too, right? So like that, I still remember watching that HBO series of Pens Caps and like the rivalry there, how good Crosby was. They were 19-5-1 during that streak. So not only was there like the juice of his streak, the intrigue of the Winter Classic, the Penguins were the best team in the NHL at the time too. Like there was just more going for that team. And to use Dom's term, like there was just like the aura around Sidney Crosby and like 2010, you really can't describe it really well. Like I was like still in high school or whatever and just like obsessed with the Penguins and Sidney Crosby. Like there was nothing cooler than that team and that player. My parents and I would drive to Pittsburgh to go to games every year during that era of Sidney Crosby. So Connor McDavid has like, he's the best player on the planet. But it's interesting how he's not getting the same amount. There's just not the same juice there. And I think it was just the timing and the Penguins really.
Yeah, absolutely. And also before I move on to like talking a little bit more about the specifics of McDavid's streak, what's added, I think, to the way that streak, the Crosby streak, is viewed publicly is what happened during the 2011 Winter Classic. We saw the start of the concussion saga that, at one point very legitimately seemed to threaten Sidney Crosby's career. Like that's what the dialogue was around him for almost 2 years after that, right? But everyone had also known what we'd just seen. So as we're waiting for Sidney Crosby to come back from his concussion and in whatever that entailed, in the back of everybody's mind was, all right, we just saw this dude play 20 or 25 of the best of the best games anybody had watched in the years preceding that. So I think that added some kind, and then the question turned into whether we would ever see him at that level again, and whether that was like the absolute apex for Sidney Crosby as a hockey player. Like I think, the overall context of the streak in the years that preceded it gave it, another level of notoriety and another level of juice. And that's just not, we haven't had that, thankfully haven't had that opportunity to surrounding McDavid.
I think, like, to add to that, it was Crosby leveling up to a level we didn't think was fathomable in that era. Like, he, I think, had settled in as like a 110-point guy, and we're like, all right, that is the peak. That's what we can maybe expect. And he's like, I'm going to score 2 points per game because I can, because I'm Sidney Crosby and I am better than everyone. And with McDavid, because we've already seen him just go off in the playoffs, have these 2 point per game moments, I don't think it reaches like the national conscience that he is doing something better than he's ever done before, where he has never scored at this pace. He's on a 189-point pace. Like, that's Gretzky level.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's just doing what people kind of expect or need to see. Like, the expectation on Connor McDavid is just so skewed right now, to your point, Dom.
Yeah. And
he's also a power play merchant. Sidney Crosby wasn't.
That is a fair enough point, because the power play has been a huge part of this. At the same time, you can make the argument that the Oilers have been a bit unlucky during this streak, because McDavid has been generating so much at 5-on-5, and they just aren't putting it in the way they should.
Crosby had 4.4 5-on-5 points per 60 during his stretch. McDavid to 3.3. And they've been outscored with him on the ice 22-14. Crosby 30. Crosby 30.
You said you weren't trying to dump on.
I'm just saying
McDavid.
That's the difference. To me, that's the differentiation point. If we want to strip the context from it, and we want to ignore the HBO show, and we want to ignore what happened in the Winter Classic, which is completely fair. That's a fine exercise. I think the differentiation point here, one of them for me, and one of the reasons that Crosby still stays ahead of McDavid, at least in this particular category, is that the 5-on-5 production and results were significantly better. And I think that's, and I'm joking about McDavid being a power play merchant. I'm kidding. I am not serious. But like, when you're splitting hairs and when you're trying to figure out which of the two greatest runs that we've seen is the greatest, I think those are the kind of things that come into play.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really a debate. We were just talking about how good
I'm having
Connor
a debate with
McDavid's
my
been. Yeah, like you're.
I'm snapping back into my natural mode, which is to defend Sidney Crosby at all costs. Clearly,
right. I was just asking Dom how good Connor McDavid is.
It's a fair question, though. Like that is, these are the two greatest streaks that we've seen in the salary cap era, and I think the 5-on-5 point is an important one. Like Sean mentioned that Crosby had 4.4 points per 60. I think the Penguins were on, like, he was on for 4.4 goals. So he had a point on, like, I think every 5-on-5 goal during that stretch. And McDavid, like, they're still outscoring teams, but it's not the same effect that Crosby did at the same time. He's not getting picking the points that Crosby did. And the power play, I mean, you can slag on Crosby for not dominating the power play with Evgeny Malkin on it, but
true.
It's if you are thinking about what's more, I think, valuable, I think the 5-on-5 stuff does point in Crosby's direction. And in terms of like historic relevance, like I can say McDavid has a 65% XG. Like, that doesn't matter in the terms of a streak. Like,
I love the self-awareness that you're showing there. Thank you for that.
I just feel like it's almost similar to like the voter fatigue conversation that we've had about the Hart. Like, Connor McDavid ripping off point streaks and being unbelievable. It's just like, yeah, okay. Like, it's just not popping in the same way. Maybe because of marketing. Maybe because they're on the West Coast. They're playing on Mountain Time. People aren't awake for it. Or it's just like, yeah, Connor McDavid's the best player on the planet. He's doing his thing out there. Like, awesome, cool, and no one's really talking about it the way that we should be, because like this really is an unbelievable streak, 19 goals and 46 points in 20 games. It's like Dom said, he's doing this is the best stretch of his career, and it's been a career full of unbelievable stretches and great hockey. So I feel like we can just leave it at that. Connor McDavid's still doing Connor McDavid stuff. Everyone should be talking about it more, okay? It's on us as media members to cast up Connor McDavid. NHL PR, if you're listening to this, don't bury Connor McDavid's 20-game point streak. It's important. We want it at the top.
Just put the Oilers on HBO. Everything else will fall into place.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, a couple final questions for Dom and Sean before we wrap the show. As someone who's going to Milan to cover the women's Olympic tournament,
congratulations on all your success. Yes.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. If you would have let me finish, you'd hear that I'm in agony. Every countdown, every timeline I'm provided, I think is rude. I take it personally. I think it's offensive. I don't need to know when my flight is. I don't need to know when the tournament starts. I'm stressed out.
You could post about it on Facebook like Laz.
You sound like an arena construction worker.
Oh my god! The only
these
people under more stress than Hailey
timelines.
Salvian right now. Good god!
Are the poor guys trying to build out the locker room in Milano Cortina? Yeah. But I do have a timeline. I was going somewhere. I wasn't just trying to, talk about how stressed out I am all the time. We're about 3 weeks until the NHL's Olympic break. I don't know if anyone's noticed this. I certainly didn't, but Sean Gentili did. Because he's in Washington, he's working on some stuff. He's in a nondescript Marriott. I'm not going to dox you like I doxed Dom on Tuesday nights.
Courtyard. I'm always in the court.
Ford
I'm always
Performance
in the
Center
courtyard.
on Rink 3. But the schedule for some teams, the Washington Capitals specifically, is about to get crazy.
Well, the thing is, here's what I'll say too. It's not just it's the Capitals in the sense that I was talking to people on the Capitals yesterday about it, but it's not them specific. This is every team. The Capitals have played 47 games, but more than 20 teams have played fewer. So this is an issue that's facing every team in the league. But starting tonight, this is Caps Sharks. So I get to see Celebrini for the first time in a little bit. Very fun.
Wow.
Starting tonight, the Caps have 6 games in 10 days, 12 and 22 until the Olympic break. There's a 6-game road trip that's mixed in there, and then they finish with 4 and 6 days. That's incredible, and they're not complaining in any capacity, right? This is just what they're faced with. I can't imagine those guys are thrilled about having to go on the road, but that's for that long in the middle of it. But whatever, things happen. It all comes out in the wash. And like I said, the Caps are, if anything, they have fewer games than most to make up in this time. 12 games in 22 days, including a bunch of back-to-backs and a whole bunch of travel. That's the kind of stuff that every team is facing. And I feel like it just dawned on me over the last couple of days. Like that is incredible. So to have a bunch of guys turn that into flights to Milan and a couple of days off before getting their own tournament started is just wild. And I think there's going to be repercussions for it. Like you hope. We're
already seeing some injuries.
But,
like you guys talked about Braden Point. Injuries happen regardless of strength of schedule stuff, but it's been happening on the women's side too. There's been like a lot of conversations with coaches, players, people in the game about how much hockey is being jammed in, and the women's schedule specifically don't play as much in the PWHL. Like their schedule or their season's tighter, but they had rivalry series, and there's college games, and there's all these different games and training environments. That's just like a lot of hockey this year, and I think it's just the first time we've been reminded of how crazy
definitely.
an Olympic year gets.
And as it relates to the NHL too, I think we'll take the injury issue out of the equation. If you're a team that has a bad week and you struggle for 7 or 8 days, if you don't have your best game, that's 5 games, right? So you are punished pretty dramatically for having a bad 6 or 7 or 8 days in a way that you typically aren't.
Okay, I wanted to ask one question of you guys. Rapid fire, please, to wrap the show. Sean,
if it's just one question, it can't be rapid fire.
Keep it tight. Keep it tight.
Okay.
We've got timelines. I have a meeting at 10. I have an Olympics meeting at 10.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Which team is more likely to actually make the playoffs? The Buffalo Sabres or the Seattle Kraken?
Buffalo
Sabres. Ding, ding, ding. Noriah Samuelson. Manoris Norrison. It's got to be them. They're underlying. That's a more talented team. How many more? They have? How many high end players would you say they have? 2.
2.5.
2 more than the Kraken.
it's more than 0 because that's what the Kraken got. I think they have the high end in a way that Seattle doesn't. They have the 5-on-5 play in a way that Seattle doesn't. I'm somewhat nervous about the amount of teams that are in the chase in the Eastern Conference. That's maybe a tick in the Kraken column, but I'm going Buffalo all day here, baby.
Yeah. I don't think people realize how hard Seattle's upcoming schedule is. I'm not sure about the actual concentration of games, but the teams they play, it's the second toughest in the league. So that should be the time for the Kraken to come back down to earth, but they keep winning. I watched the game on, I think, Saturday against Carolina, and I think the Kraken had the puck for roughly 5 seconds. So that was interesting 3-2 loss, as is classic for Kraken games this year. Who is the best player on the Kraken, and where would they rank on the Sabres?
Ooh.
Where would Jared McCann race on the...
Is it still Jared McCann in 2026? Is that their best player?
Well, I think so, and I would take Tage over him. I would take Tuck over him. I would take Josh Doan over him with the way he's playing, and I'd obviously take Dahlin over him.
On the Sabres, he would be more properly lined up in the depth chart, is what we're saying.
And of course, you would take Noriah Norrison over him.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
Naturally.
Well... Oh, sure.
Philip Grubauer is their best player.
Philip Grubauer.
Whoops.
I feel like he should have saved this for the Olympics. Because imagine Grubauer at this level, Draisaitl, Seider, Peterka. That is upset city, and that would have been fun. And I feel like he might turn into a pumpkin when it matters most to him.
You think? Wow, you're really stepping out on a limb there, brother.
So mean. I didn't think you guys were going to be so mean to the Kraken.
They're
confounding. I know Dom had...
Clearly not a power rankings reader who's hosting the show today. Yes, it's our little space to make fun of the Kraken every week.
It's mean. Their results.
I want to apologize to Kraken Nation. I do, because they think I hate this team, and I don't want to think about them at all.
They're randomly successful power play, and like one of their goaltenders always seems like has been on at one point or another over the course of this. So it's fine.
Good for them.
All right.
Good for you guys. It all counts.
All right, that's enough.
All right.
That was mean. 10 games on the NHL schedule tonight, including Toronto versus Vegas. Leafs looking to get back into a playoff position, playing Mitch Marner for the first time since he left town. Not feeling like home in Vegas yet, guys. It's sad. It's sad. I feel sad.
We all hate seasonal allergies. Who among us?
I felt so bad for Mitch's own decisions.
I don't really like.
Here it is, the consequences of my actions.
Oh man, I can't play video games with my friends. This sucks.
I feel like I didn't realize that he wasn't playing with Jack Eichel anymore, and that just speaks to me not paying attention to Mitch Marner of the Vegas Golden Knights. I'll own that. I don't care. I wasn't interested.
2 playmaking guys. I did have optimism that Eichel, who has had some goal scoring prowess in the past, has been a shooter, might find that form with Marner.
I kind of thought that was going to work too. I thought that's what we were going to see.
Yeah, me too. I thought it had been until recently.
No, Mitch Marner is manning his own line. He's playing center for some reason. He's not good at faceoffs. The line, when he's playing center, they are not controlling play. He has been really good defensively. I think part of that is because he is not getting the matchups Eichel is, but it is definitely a lower offensive output than he is used to, which I think is notable.
Well, so Austin Matthews was like out and about at like Greenwood rinks and like out in the East End, very safe, walking around his city. I don't know. Seems nice, pleasant. Anyways. 9 other games.
For Mitch, he's locked in the house in Summerlin or wherever he's living. Poor guy.
I just think if any other player came out and said, like, this new city that I moved to that's really far from home after playing somewhere for a long time and I'm having a tough adjustment. If like literally any other dude said that, people would be like, I get it. He's just a boy. He's a first-time dad. He's adjusting to life. But Mitch Marner says it and everyone's just like, I don't care. I don't feel bad for you. Everyone was poo-pooing on Mitch.
Our lives are
I think if Mark Scheifele moved to Arizona, Utah, and was like, yeah, it's a bit of a tough adjustment, but we'll get there, everyone would be like, you're right, Mark Scheifele, you will. And everyone doesn't want to hear it from Mitch Marner.
Our lives are the sum of our choices, to quote Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning.
Oh my God. All right.
Maybe he should take up hiking.
That was shocking. I was like, what do you mean? Why did you tell Jonas that? That was my takeaway. Like, did Jonas ask him, hey, have you gotten any nice hikes? And he's like, no, I hate to hike.
I don't like it.
Horrendous. I couldn't get through the rest of the story. I couldn't handle it. Anyways,
too sad.
This was the segment where I admit to everyone that I don't pay attention and I don't read or consume anything. So I will be back next week. Thanks everyone for listening to this episode. I'm about to get fired from the podcast. Prospect Boys have the next show tomorrow. Sean and I will return next Thursday if I haven't been canned. Thanks for doing this, Dom. We appreciate you.
Anytime.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell to stay informed and catch new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And in the meantime, you can join our Discord community. We'll see you there.